We continue with the Sports Groove 2.0 on something other than your radio. I'm Mark Gray. You know, for 28 days out of the year, America gets caught up in celebrating Black history, and we talk about heroes. But today's guest is clearly a great American hero. His name is Craig Hodges. Those of you of a new generation don't remember that Craig Hodges was one of the most prolific shooters in the NBA. And yeah, we did have long-range bombers before there was a guy by the name of Steph Curry. He won 3 straight NBA three-point shooting contests and really ultimately became what you all would recognize as the Colin Kaepernick of his generation. Prior to game 1 of, I believe it was the 91 or 92 NBA Finals, you wanted to get with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson to talk about the prospect for boycotting, and they kind of backed off.
The thing that we know, both you and I know, whether it be Magic, whether it be MJ, on the bus and in the locker room, they spoke about the same issues that I spoke about, Mahmoud spoke about forthrightly, man. All right. But the difference is that the economic position that they had compared to he and I were totally different. I'm not upset with them for the position that they taken. That's the position that they taken. But at the same time, I'm saying that to whom much is given, much is required, and we have to realize the time in which we are. So if Elgin Baylor and Jerry West could do it in 1963, surely we could do it in 1991. However, we have to look at the time frame that, in 1979. Wasn't that when Magic and Bird played in the finals?
Yeah, 79.
Right, 79. And at that point in time, the NBA was basically nothing but Africans, and that was the acronym for it. So the owners wanted to, they had to figure out a way to get this thing where we got more people that look like us in this thing. And it just happened that they had a perfect storm of Magic and Bird come in, and now we have a true black and white rivalry. And it just so happened that both of them go to the best 2 teams in the league on the opposite coast. However, that happens with the, with the draft. But anyway, at that point in time, there was a certain quiet rule that you don't speak to issues, because coming out of the 60s and 70s, brothers was changing their names, having an African consciousness. You look at the Kareems and the Wally Jones, all the brothers who changed their names and changed the culture, that bled down to us. But that's the biggest thing, is that, there was an apolitical position that took place from, I'm gonna say that from 79 through 91, man, where you have to really look under a microscope to find anyone who was speaking to the issues of poor people, people of color, injustice. Even when Rodney King got beat down, how many athletes took a position at that point in time? I have to talk to a lot of my heroes from afar, like Dr. John Carlos and Dr. Harry Edwards, and and them teaching me the realization that a lot of what happened in 1968, the Olympic movement was part of a larger movement. And thus the same thing with, the brothers with LeBron and the women athletes. And I want to make sure I give special applause to the women athletes who have stood up for consciousness prior to the brothers standing up, and that their position that they've taken is part and parcel of that fabric, man. And they told me, man, that, you can't force the time. The time will come. And if that time for you happens to be within part of a larger movement, the amount of support you're going to get is going to be crazy. And for me personally, when I look at the Black Lives Matter that was going on and all of that, and then Michael Jordan comes out with this documentary, Last Dance, that excluded me, it made me even larger within the context of basketball and the mainstream of sport. And now I'm part of this movement that the whole world is caught up into it. So the visibility is a lot more than it was in 1991. So the support that I've been getting now, man, is nothing but love, brother.
It's amazing. It's the same thing with Colin Kaepernick. People don't necessarily remember the fact that he had his team within a yard of winning or at least taking a Super Bowl into overtime, where with you, people don't realize in many respects, Craig, and I don't mean this as a slight, but to mainstream America, heck,
Right.
you were bigger than John Paxson and Steve Kerr.
Come
I
on,
mean,
man.
objectively speaking, man, let's be real for
You
a
know,
second.
you
Three
know,
straight 3-point shooting championships is unheard of.
right.
And I never saw Kerr do it. I never saw Paxson do it. I can go back to NBA TV and watch
You
you
know,
do it.
and what's so cool for me, them the two that you mentioned, man, Steve and Pax, they're my boys, man.
Right.
So and it's so funny how within the realm of the politics of sport, they realized what was going on, man. And they realized that they pawns in the game likewise. And like I told Pax, when he was, he had some feelings where he's like, man, Hodge, you should be playing. And I'm like, brother, let's win, man. Let's win. I understand, we understand all of this that's going on, but I'm larger than the game to know that this thing is about something a lot larger than us just putting this ball in the hoop, man. Because if that's the case, there's no way I would be sitting behind you or anybody else based upon, just statistics matter. When we talk about my career in general, man, my son always, he does the stats on the history of stuff, and he's saying, Dad, I don't see nobody in the game that did what you did. You left the game 3-time consecutive 3-point champion, 2-time world champion. Nobody did that. Larry Bird didn't do that. And Larry Bird's the only one that won 3 in a row. So we blessed, man. We're blessed to be able to be excommunicated from the game as a champion.
You brought things to the point of consciousness and it cost you a lot. Was it worth it?
We're in a day of deliverance, man. So it's important for us to keep our balance about ourselves and don't get too caught on the teeter totter one way or the other, try to stay in the center. And for me, I was a baby of the movement, man, and still, to this day know the importance of what my mom and what, the freedom fighters of her day were doing to try to, promote, justice and equality during that time in the early 1960s. And then I had a chance to get a scholarship to go to Long Beach State and study under Dr. Karinga and Dr. Khalid Muhammad. So as I went into, further on in life, and as far as the league was concerned, and even now, that it's a lot bigger than myself, man. And we know that it's important that we continue to do our research and see whatever we can do to make sure that, whatever the creator has in store for us, that we're on the vanguard to make sure that comes into fruition, man.
Craig, looking at the sacrifices that you made and looking at the place America was from a civil rights and social justice standpoint in the early to mid 90s to where we are
Right.
here in a new millennium. Have you seen any change? Have you seen any signs of the issues that you were addressing being worked towards being satisfactorily addressed?
One of the biggest things for me, man, is in growing up and studying and learning the battles and learning what battles are yours and what battles are for the creator. And, in a lot of terms, in maturity, I see that, white supremacy, racism is actually eradicated now from its own tentacles. And that now we're free to be able to galvanize our mind and our consciousness to create a whole new paradigm. Now, whether or not we want to do that, and many of us have been so caught into the box of it, the infrastructure of it all, and as opposed to it being time right now for us to create an infrastructure that's wholesome and long hauling for our people, man, and not be afraid, because if we look back into our history, we're kingdom builders anyway, man. So it shouldn't be something that we should shy away from, but it should be something that, we applaud and we accept the challenge of it forthrightly, knowing that it's for generations to come.
He is the incomparable Craig Hodges. Mr. Hodges, bow down, my brother. You've been a beast forever. And I'm just glad that I had the chance, in this lifetime to spend some time with you. And I look forward to doing it again down the road real soon.
Sure, man. Peace and blessings to you and your audience, man.
Likewise, my friend. That's Craig Hodges, boys and girls. We got more of what you came here for. It is the Sports Groove 2.0 on something other than your radio. This is HSRN, the network, putting the U in HBCU because Black Talk matters over here.